My name is Neji Khang. I play saxophone. I'm a musician. Music is kind of my everything right now. I started playing saxophone in elementary school and played it throughout elementary, middle school, and high school. But high school is really where it kind of hooked me in. I went to Stevens Point, UW Stevens Point, for 3 semesters. This this spring would have been my fourth semester, but I actually took off because I'm transferring schools to another school, the Berklee School of Music, which is located in Boston. At Stevens Point, we did two things. We have a jazz festival in the spring, and then we also bring in a guest artist in the fall. And I say we because it's the student led club jazz society brings in guest artists in the fall. And while I was at Stevens Point, I was the vice president for that club. And we had brought in two musicians, two amazing musicians, Linda Mehan O, who's a bassist, and we also brought in a saxophonist named Vincent Herring, who has always been an inspiration to me. And it was great to actually see him in person. I think I'll start with the lows. The lows as a musician is you really have to spend a lot of time in a room, a small little cubicle, and you're just practicing to try and make any sort of worth. And it depends on what that worth is for you. For me, I personally love being able to express. So the end goal for practicing for me is to try and express what I need to express on the saxophone. If I can't do it on the saxophone, it means I need to practice. Um, and the highs are being able to perform and be able to express. Um, and even if that's in a setting that I might not want to do, like reggae gigs or pop gigs, 'cause that's not my main thing. I really like jazz. But when I do get to do jazz, it is some of the most special things ever. Like I mentioned before, Linda Mayano and Vincent Herring, I will forever remember those two concerts. For the Linda one for many different reasons, and the Vincent one because he's one of my heroes, and to be able to play with him and be able to have a jazz conversation with him is nothing will rival that. When I was a intern with Jazz Coterie, um, there was a really interesting sound guy that I met. Um, his name was Jake, and unfortunately he's not with us anymore. Um, and before I actually started the internship, I had met Jake at the Linda Mejano concert, and in that dress rehearsal, he was brought in, and his whole job was just he was gonna sit there and record the entire band play. So he records us, and I barely got to talk to him. We get done with the concert, and for two reasons I'll remember that concert. One, it was Linda Mano, and secondly, that also happened to be the night that my great grandmother passed away. Um, it was a concert full of many different emotions. I really enjoyed the music, but it was also interesting to play music that honestly some of it was about death and passing and birth, um, and it was very emotional to be playing that kind of music, especially with again one of my heroes like Linda. Um, and a few weeks later, I finally actually get to meet Jake formally for a recording session to actually record some of that music that we played with Linda. But we won't be playing it with Linda in that recording session. So we recorded that with Jake, and we kind of did the studio recording of two of the songs. One of them I was featured on, and I got to talk to Jake a little bit more, and some time passes by, about another week or two passes by, and I started my internship with Jazz Coterie, and it just so happens that the sound guy for Jazz Coterie is also Jake, and we finally get to talk, and uh, there's another student that I actually meet, a high school student that I met a little bit after the Linda Mejano concert, who'd come up to me, and he was inspired by how I played, and again, as it turns out, he was a student of Jake's. So I get to talk to the sound guy. I learn more about his student who really was inspired by my playing, and I get to learn more about his thoughts on music, and as we both had really, really similar thoughts on music, and I will always remember he said to me that he can tell that I have a really good ear. As a sound person, he can tell that when I'm soloing, that my ear catches things that others don't, and it was such a big compliment to me because especially at that point of time, there wasn't many people I knew in my life that were giving me compliments about saxophone, um, and he was a big deal. And about another week passes, and there's another internship showing, um, and I get there, and the owners of Jazz Coterie, Kyle and Ryan, were talking to me, and they mentioned that we have a different sound guy tonight. And the reason for that being was Jake had passed away. So one of the last things that he would have done is record me play saxophone with the Linda Man concert. I look back and as emotional as that concert is, it's even more emotional with Jake and his studio recordings that he sent over as one of the last things he did.